What's up guys, JTails here for another Dragon Ball FighterZ video, and today I wanted to give you guys my own personal tier list. And this is basically my own personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it, you can disagree, you can leave comments. I actually want discussion to go on about this because the game is still fresh and everything's still changing. None of this is set in stone, I don't claim to know everything, it's just my opinion, so take it for what it is. Alright. Now that that's out of the way, let's get right to it. I'm actually going to be sorting these based on who I think is uppermost, and then get into the characters that I know a little bit less about and the lower tier people. So, first and foremost, I think everybody is expecting this. Android 16. I think he is the best character in the game right now. His tools are just ridiculous. I don't think any character is actually SS tier. I don't think the disparity is that large between people, but I do think he's very, very strong. So I'm going to put him at the top tier, the highest tier you can be, and I think he's just so well-rounded that it's very hard to have all the tools that he has. He has armor on his heavy, so he can armor through hits and poke you in neutral. His damage output's insane. He has a command grab, he has mix-ups, he has it all. He's one of the only characters with a hard knockdown that can then set you up for another reset. No other character puts you in a state where you're hard knocked down, where you cannot tech. I think a few other characters do, maybe Majin Buu does, but I don't know too much about his setups. So, Android 16 is just overall super good, super strong, right? Next, I think I would say Cell, man. Cell is extremely well-rounded. I think he has it all. He has teleport, he has a full screen command grab, his damage output is also insane, he has long combos, so when your opponent's in X Factor, or sorry, sparking, and you land a hit, you can keep those combos going to really run the timer on that sparking, right? So he's just really strong. I feel like he fits any team. You can kind of slap him on any team and he'll be strong. He fits any position, anchor, point. He's really good at building meter. So while I don't think he's as strong as 16, I do think he's very good and extremely well-rounded. So I would probably put him right here, honestly. Right? And something to note, guys, I don't think any character is low tier either. I think that any character that's considered not as strong, probably like the people who are going to be at the bottom of B tier, they're not unplayable, right? What it simply means is that if you're going to play a low B tier character, it means that you have to build, your team building has to be based around them, right? Because you have to make these characters work for you. Whereas characters in the S tier, you don't have to build around them. These characters are all going to be characters that you can slap onto any team and it's going to work out. If there's a spot on your team missing and you don't know who to put in, you can slap any of these like top right characters and it'll probably fill in the void for you pretty well. So next up, I want to talk about Goku Black. He has a lot of tools, he has a teleport, he has also a command grab that's kind of slow, but he has a command grab with some moss. Very strong character, he has really good mix-ups, decent damage output, right? So I would put him roughly around here. I also think he's very well-rounded, but I don't think he's as well-rounded as Cell is. So I'm going to put him a little bit behind Cell, probably like around here. I think that's fair. Next, who else? Adult Gohan. I think Adult Gohan is very strong. I think that he has all the tools. He can be a very good anchor, a very good point character. I would put him almost equivalent to Cell. You can slap him on any team and he can kind of fit any role that you would need. Very well-rounded as well. So I think I would put him above Goku Black and equal to Cell. Also just like very well-rounded. I would put him right there. Next, who else is there? Hit, actually, yes. So Hit, actually I'm gonna move these guys over. I don't think Hit has too many weaknesses. His main weakness is that he's not good in the air, right? That's like the main thing, but honestly, you don't need that for this game. If you're pressuring your opponent on the ground and they're afraid to push a button, Hit very much excels. So I think, yeah, while he has slight weakness in the air, it's not strong enough where it's going to hinder him that much. So he's not as well-rounded as 16, right? But I'm going to put him slightly there. Probably equal. Well, he's more well-rounded than Cell and Adult Gohan are, I would say. But not as good as 16. Like roughly. And take this with a grain of salt, right? These guys are all pretty much interchangeable. Any way you want to look at it. So definitely just take a look at the big differences rather than the micro little spacings. This is just for me to keep in mind. Alright, so next, I want to talk about Kid Buu. I think Kid Buu is also very, very strong. He's pretty well rounded. A lot of his pressure and mix-ups aren't completely real. He does lose to deflect a lot. And his damage output isn't that strong. His assist is really good for locking down, but I don't know, his mix-ups are fairly straightforward, and even though he does have full screen button, which is really good, I don't think he's as strong as, let's say, Cell or Hit or any of those guys, but I do think he's up here. He's pretty well-rounded, but I'm going to put him just a notch below these guys. I still think he's very good. Probably like in between A and S tier, I think is fair to say. And once again, guys, it's just my opinion. You do not have to agree. Feel free to leave comments if you agree, if you disagree with anything. So next, I want to talk about Goku Blue. I think he's very strong. I would also kind of put him where Kid Buu is roughly, because he has a lot of what you would need. He has a teleport that costs no meter. He has really good built-in auto combo mix-ups. His level 5 is insane damage. So I would probably put him roughly in the same area. He can be a really good anchor as well as a really good point character. His assist isn't terrible, right? It's not bad. Next, Android 17. Really good for building meter. Good powerhouse character. She has 2 assists, Android 17, plus whatever characters are on your team as well. Her neutral is pretty linear though. She doesn't really have too many mix-ups in terms of her pressure. But I also do think she's a very good character, so I would keep her a little bit higher in terms of tier, but she's starting to drop off in terms of being well-rounded, I think. So maybe I would put her like around this area. It's really hard to say completely, but she is very strong and she's very technical. She's not easy to use. Her and Hit are very technical characters. They're not just kind of like pick up and play kind of guys. So you do want to put time into her if you're considering using her. I would put her like right there. I think that's fair to say. Now let's get into kind of like the all-rounder guys. I think regular Goku you can't really go wrong with him, right? He has everything. He doesn't have a teleport that doesn't cost meter, and his damage output is decent, right? It's not the best damage output in the game, but it's pretty good. He has all the tools you would need. I don't think you can go wrong with putting this guy in your team anywhere pretty much. I would put him roughly like right here. And then another character that also fits a similar description would be Trunks. I think that Trunks is also pretty good on any team. His mix-ups are insane. He's a pretty technical character, but he's also very strong, and I think that he kind of fits the mold for, you can put him on any team and you can't really go wrong with Trunks. You don't have to build around him that hard. He can cancel his standing S into another move, a quarter circle forward, S, and it causes a big explosion. That's also safe, and then you can vanish. He just has a lot of pressure with his flips and his movement options that I think make him very strong. Also within this range, I would put Tien. I think Tien is very good. His damage output's insane, but it does hurt him, so that's kind of like a fall. He doesn't just have access to free damage all the time. Chaozu is a very good Oki option and just good damage and hard to get around. So, and I also think Tien's one of the best anchors in the game. So while I don't think he's necessarily S tier, I do think he's very high, very good, and he's pretty well rounded. But I'm gonna put him slightly to the left of that space around this range. Now, another pick that I think people are gonna disagree with me on is probably gonna be Piccolo. I actually think Piccolo is pretty good. And I would put him near here. He's very scary, right? Because once he gets to hit on you, he can set up into Hell Zone Grenade, and you can't leave the corner. Hell Zone Grenade keeps you locked down. If you pair that with a Vegeta assist, you're just stuck blocking mix-up after mix-up after mix-up. And then if he gets that touch, he just knocks you up in the air, launches you back down, Hell Zone Grenade. When you stand up, you have to block once again. He calls Vegeta assist, you have to block even longer. And I think within those 5-6 seconds, he will find his hit on you or his mix-up, and you're going to be stuck just getting looped reset after reset. The only thing is his neutral is not as strong as, let's say, Cell, Adult Gohan, or Hit. And that's the hard part. It's like him getting the initial attack is the hard part, but once he's set up, he can keep looping his setups, and you have to really be a master at blocking in order to escape his pressure. So I kind of put him around Tien, right? Like, the neutral's decent, and they can really dish out damage once they touch you, but aside from that, it's, you know, it's not as easy for these guys to kind of land their initial hits. So I'll kind of put them in a similar spot. Let's talk about Frieza. I think Frieza's also pretty strong, honestly, and I don't think he has too many faults. He has good range on his normals. I think he's a good character. He has Golden Frieza form, which buffs his attack and his blue health regeneration. You can't really go wrong with this stuff. He has really damaging combos. I just don't know enough about him completely to solidify my placing. I don't really know his weaknesses. His crouching heavy is insane. It covers such a long distance. So I think he's pretty well rounded. He has a lot of tools. He has good range on his normals. And yeah, I wouldn't say he's S tier, but I definitely would think he's pretty good. So I'll probably put him right there. Let's talk about Nappa. I think Nappa is a good character. I think he struggles in the neutral. He has to rely on his heavy attack to kind of go full screen and to land that initial hit. Other than that, his approaches are kind of predictable, and once he knocks you down, it's really... So kind of like Piccolo, once he knocks you down, he sets up into Cybermen, and then, you know, he's trying to Oki you and mix you up. But aside from that, him getting the first hit is the hard part, and I think he struggles more than Piccolo and Tien does in that aspect. So I'm going to put him a little bit below these guys, and still say he's moderately well-rounded, but a little bit lower here. He's not bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I wouldn't say he's as strong as this quadrant, you know? Teen Gohan. A lot of people have been asking about him. So his damage output is ridiculous. With his level 5, even with a lot of his damaging combos, his damage output is better than normal Goku's. It's pretty good. It's like Tien level damage output, Goku Blue level damage output. But aside from that, his limbs are very stubby. He doesn't have the range necessary to compete with people like Android 16, Goku Black, Adult Gohan, where their limbs are just really, really long and can poke you from a good range. And I think that's where Teen Gohan kind of struggles a little bit. So I would put him slightly lower, and I would say that he has a moderate amount of faults. Even though his damage output is insane, I still think that it's going to be hard to land that initial hit with him. So I'll kind of put him right here. Krillin. I think Krillin and Teen Gohan have similar issues in that their limbs are very stubby, but once Krillin touches you, he sets up Oki situations with his rocks, right? And that's really strong, because now as soon as you get up, you have to block the rocks, and then he can overhead you, he can continue to mix you up, pair that with assists, and it's really strong. One thing that I do think makes Krillin a little bit better than the rest is his Senzu Bean ability. I think his Senzu Bean ability is really good, and the fact that you can regenerate all blue health, it's like fighting two characters. So let's say you cast me with a level 3, right? And I get a touch on you and I get to knock you down. I can now throw my Senzu Bean off the wall and catch it. And I just healed all that damage that you worked so hard for. And now you basically have to fight two Krillins, because I was at low health and now I use the Senzu Bean and now I'm already back at like 70% health, right? So the fact that he gets an opportunity to heal teammates and heal himself, I actually do think puts him a little bit higher, but I do think as a character alone, he does have considerable faults. So I do think some team building needs to go around him. His damage output is also really strong. He can, off of his Destructo Disc, you can call Vegeta Assist, and then Destructo Disc again, and then call a Beam Assist, and then do the 4 Destructo Discs. So he has a lot of cool things, and I want to see more from Krillin players, but his normals do come into play here, and I think I would put him roughly right here. Vegeta, everyone's favorite assist character, right? You can slap him on any team, and he fulfills the role of an assist, correct? Correct. However, as a character alone, if you have a Vegeta as an anchor, that's not really the optimal choice. I don't think Vegeta as an anchor is a good decision. His block strings are pretty predictable. He doesn't have a command grab to mix you up with. He has a DP, right? He has an invincible anti-air move, and then people love to vanish afterwards to make it safe, but that's it. It's like he has no mix-ups. He's gonna block string your shield, and then he's either gonna do some kicks and then vanish, or he's not gonna do that. And you can then try to punish him or try to read a situation. He's a very linear character, and for that, I am going to keep him slightly in the A tier, but I do think that he has considerable faults, and I think that he's not very scary. When I see Vegeta as an anchor, I'm just like, oh, okay, like, that's not scary at all. I don't really care about that. So I'm going to put him actually around here. I don't think he's terrible, but I think people overhype him, and the assist is very good, definitely, and that's the only reason that I'm not putting him over here. I think because of his assist is so strong, and I'm not putting him down here, right? So I'm just gonna keep him like right here. Android 21. I actually think Android 21 has a bunch of great tools. And if she absorbs the right abilities, I think she can be monstrous. She can be a really, really big threat. Kind of put her into S tier as well. But if we want to talk about the base character without any abilities absorbed, she has a command grab. She has good projectiles, good normals, her tail's really strong. And she's solid all around. Her damage output is also decent. For some reason, when I fight Android 21s though, I don't feel very overwhelmed. And this is just a personal opinion. I'm not sure why. Maybe I just understand the character, but she's very, very well-rounded. However, I don't think she's that as good as people make her out to be. I think people get hyped up because of all the tools that she has, and they're just like, oh man, she has this, she has that. But I feel like the frame data on those tools are a little bit predictable. You can kind of see her command grab startup animation. Unlike Android 16, it's kind of instant. Hers is more like, oh, okay, you're going to do your block string, and then you're going to command grab me at the end. I can see you dashing forward. I can push a button. So I don't know. This is just my personal opinion. You don't have to agree with it, but I think Android 21 is a little overrated. That's why I'm putting her in A tier still, and very well-rounded, but not at the top of A tier. I'm putting her kind of a little bit lower. And once again, you don't have to agree with me. And we're going to put Frieza a little bit more over here, because Frieza is actually more well-rounded than I actually made him out to be. Okay, Gotenks. Gotenks, I think, suffers from Teen Gohan and Krillin syndrome, where his limbs are very short, and his damage output is moderate. It's not the best damage output. His assist is very good, though. The Galactic Donut can set up into a few cool things. That's how you can set up into Captain Ginyu, Vegeta assist as well. But once again, he requires a team to build around him. And that being said, I don't think Gotenks is as strong. I actually don't know too much about Gotenks. I've fought against a few online, and I've seen a few in tournament, but Gotenks doesn't really impress me in many ways. I don't really see... I know he has good synergy with Adult Gohan as well, so I think for that I would put him a little bit higher. But I do think he has faults as a character, and I do think that his lack of range on his normals do come into play. He has a good fake out, which is nice. You can cancel the beam and fake people out in the corner. So maybe we would do something like this, right? He's kind of like on par with Krillin Teen Gohan, but maybe a little bit better because he has fake outs and he can set up into Adult Gohan. If you do Adult Gohan's Super and then DHC into Ghost, Kamikaze Ghosts, Gotenks can actually combo off of that, if I'm not mistaken. So there's a few things that goes on with these two, and he probably has good synergies with other characters, but we just haven't explored that yet. So I would put him roughly around here, this quadrant. I think it's fair to say. Fat Boo. So I think Fat Boo is pretty good. He has a lot of good range on his normals. He's a big body, so he does get poked quite a bit. He does have good tools, and I heard, I don't know how, but he does set up into a hard knockdown the way that Android 16 does. And I think any character with a tool like this is already going to be a bit more well-rounded. However, Fat Boo just doesn't have a lot, right? He has that cartwheel move that kind of sends him back, and that's fine, but it doesn't really, it's just like kind of like a get out of jail. You can reset to neutral with it, but like who cares about that, right? And then with the butt stomp, you can actually block the initial hit and then jab him before he stomps on you, and that interrupts the move. However, people can tiger knee the input and make it so that the first hit doesn't even happen, and he can set up some tricky things. However, I don't know. I just don't think Fat Boo, since he's so big, he's susceptible to getting poked more so than other characters, but he does have a hard knockdown. So I would probably put him around here. Not in A tier necessarily, but with a hard knockdown, he does have potential for dangerous setups, and I think that that's very strong. Vegeta Blue. So I think fundamentally, Vegeta Blue and Vegeta are very similar characters. They don't have that much differentiation on their specials and normals. Vegeta Blue definitely deals more damage, so that's by default going to put him above regular Vegeta. He's a pretty good anchor. He has better combos than regular Vegeta, better damage output. His assist is okay for controlling space. It's pretty good. It doesn't keep people locked down, but it does keep people holding block. And for that, I think it's pretty good. His damage output's ridiculous, but he doesn't have a teleport. He doesn't have a command. Well, he does have command grab, actually. But aside from that, I feel like his redeeming quality is his damage output. Otherwise, he's like a slightly better Vegeta, so like a little bit more well-rounded and a little bit better of a character, in my opinion, aside from a worse assist. So for that, I would put him just slightly above regular Vegeta. I think they're very similar in the way that they play their neutral and their options for mixing up. Captain Ginyu. This is probably going to be the most controversial position on this chart. So I know Captain Ginyu has very, very good normals. I know that he has great assists with the Ginyu Force, plus you can pair that with your own assists. You do have to build around Captain Ginyu though. If you ever want to land body swap, you kind of need Vegeta or Gotenks on your squad in order to make that possible, to combo into Goldo. And then from there, I know there are other ways to combo into Goldo. I've seen some of those videos, especially when you're in Sparking. And he does have the Milky Cannon DHC glitch, which I can talk about in another video. But because of that DHC glitch, I would put him up a little bit more than I normally would. If they ever patch that glitch out, I would probably put him here. But since he does have the DHC glitch, giving you free meters to DHC with and potentially free level 3s, which I think is very, very strong, I would put him a little bit better than Boo and Nappa for sure, and maybe slightly more well-rounded. He has pretty good normals, and you know, the Ginyu Force assist is also very, very strong. So I think we would do something like this. I don't want to undermine Piccolo though. I don't think Ginyu's better than the setups that Piccolo has. Maybe he's better in the neutral slightly, but yeah, we would do something like this. Yamcha. Yamcha's another very, very strong assist character, and he does have kind of like an unreactable cross-up with his medium Wolfang Fist. Sorry, I think you do the quarter circle forward with light, and then you press medium to teleport behind them, and then you get some pretty good solid damage off of that. However, I think his overall damage output is not that it's not that high. He really needs to hit you many more times than you're hitting him in order to be effective. His assist is very good, and it does corner carry, so for that, I would put him a little bit higher. However, I do think that Yamcha has some faults. He has very predictable gameplay, and he's just very strong on the ground and not in the air. So much like Hit, he does have the same weakness. However, his gameplay isn't as oppressive as Hit. And for that, I would put him... So his assist is good, damage output not that strong. So I would kind of put him in B tier, probably at the top. And his tools are decent, but he has a lot of faults. So maybe I would put him... I wouldn't say lower than Teen Gohan, but maybe we can do this. That's probably where I would put Yamcha. Sorry, Teen Gohan. Now, Beerus. Beerus is probably the character I know least about. I do know that you can super dash through his purple orbs that he sets up, but you want to use these orbs when you get a knockdown, meaning you're going to have to get a knockdown first to make Beerus effective. Other than that, he does have a level 1 DHC, which you can power up. His auto combo crosses up, which by default is going to make him pretty good. I just don't really have enough of a say or information from Beerus, and I feel like a lot of people don't know too much about Beerus. But any character with a built-in cross-up is going to be decent enough. And his 2M actually goes almost the whole screen, which is pretty ridiculous. So I think Beerus is kind of in the same category as Goku, Piccolo, where you're going to have to work on the setups to make him effective, but I don't think he's that bad. Maybe we can put him roughly here. I would put him at the top of B tier. He's not terrible, but you definitely do have to be a character specialist. You can't just pick up Beerus and say like, okay, like I'm gonna win now. I'm gonna pick up and play him. So let me just space these out so you guys can have a final image, and maybe I will tweet this out actually, just so people can have it as reference. You guys can take a screenshot of this once I finish positioning it. And like I said, guys, feel free to leave comments, questions, and suggestions of your own that you have on my tier list. I'm open to any discussions, and if you think I'm dead wrong about something, that's fine too. My opinion is not the law, and I don't think that I know everything about this game. I think that everyone's still kind of learning the game, and everyone's kind of learning what all these characters are capable of. But if I had to say, for the moment, this is my final answer on Dragon Ball FighterZ tier list. So feel free to leave a comment if you agree about certain things. If you disagree about certain things, that's fine too. I'm happy to talk. And let me know what characters you guys want to see next in terms of a character guide. I would be happy to take suggestions. Frieza's probably coming this week, and maybe one of the other characters that you guys voted on. So, that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. This video is actually a lot longer than I intended, but I wanted to explain my decisions, and yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. I'll see you guys next time.